audacious. They really are, and I'm so happy to be in this room with so many people who are passionate about this issue as I am. And we're grateful to the Downtown Community Television Center for hosting us this evening. And I'm just glad to say that Making a Killing, Guns, Greed, and the NRA is a very powerful film. Because when it comes to gun violence in this country, it is all too easy to become complacent. As the film notes, every day, 80 Americans die as a result of gun violence. 80 unnecessary deaths. Yet every attempt to pass common sense gun control laws is fiercely opposed by the NRA. Thankfully, Robert Greenwald and his team at Brave New Films have not succumbed to despair. Instead, they channeled their outrage into a film that will inspire all of us to action, greater action. A film that will convince you that even the NRA, an organization that has an annual operating budget of $250 million, is no match for a movement of citizens fighting for common sense reform, fighting for the memories of those we have lost, and fighting for the future of those we love. This movie must help fuel our outrage, help strengthen our vows to push for peace. And we must keep pushing until we have stronger background checks, until we have bans on weapons designed for mass killings, until we finally come together as a nation to say, once and for all, that we care more about keeping our loved ones safe than keeping a handful of gun companies profitable. Robert and Brave New Films are doing their part, and I praise them because this has been such a long and tortured fight. And with little attention paid to all of those families who are hurt by gun violence. I've been working very hard on Thrive NYC, our action plan to change the way people think about mental health and the way our city delivers mental health services. And we know that when people are suffering from serious mental illnesses, they also have an easy access to guns, that terrible tragedies can occur. Too many tragedies, way too many tragedies, and we see them time and time again. However, it is important to note that most people who suffer from mental illness are not violent towards others. And what is not talked about as much is that people who take their own lives, people who are violent to themselves, children, teenagers, seniors, adults of all ages, are often suffering from severe depression. They account for more than half of all gun deaths. So from my perspective, we have a double public health crisis on our hands. If we are to lessen the toll, the painful toll of mental illness on our families and communities, we must also make it less easy to access guns. I urge you to visit nyc.gov/ThriveNYC to learn more about Thrive NYC and our work to address the mental health crisis. Clearly, we need every community to understand all the consequences of the proliferation of guns and how easy they are to obtain. We need everyone to do their part. It affects every family, every single family. I can assure you that we have a steadfast partner in Bill de Blasio. I know him pretty well. As mayor, Bill's first priority is keeping New Yorkers safe. And that means he must be a leading voice for reform and use every tool at his disposal to stem the tide of illegal guns. I'm proud of the work he is doing, and I hope you will join me in welcoming him to this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, my husband and your mayor, Mayor Blasio.
Thank you so much, Shirlane. I have to tell you, the work that Shirlane is doing to go right at the mental health crisis, to destigmatize mental health challenges, to actually talk about our communal responsibility to help people who suffer from mental illness. It is one of the ways we will fundamentally change this city and this society. Let's thank her for all she is doing. We know that the challenge of mental health is pervasive in our society. So everyone can understand that reality. So many people suffering from mental illness. But as Charlene said, it's only a small number for whom that turns into violence. But we see those cases. We understand them very, very vividly. We see the horrible destruction. As Charlene said, it may be destruction that someone wreaks upon themselves or maybe upon total strangers. But we understand we have a bigger problem in our society when mental illness and guns intersect, and it's way too common. And that is because guns are way too common. That's because over the years, somehow, we've allowed ourselves to become a society where gun access was extraordinarily easy. And the results we see over and over again. Now, here's the challenge. We can't get numb in the face of tragedy after tragedy. And it's, sometimes it feels like the weight is so great and just the regularity with which you turn on the television and see another massacre. It has a numbing impact. It could cause us to think there is no way to change the situation. The power of the NRA, we've been told about it so many times, it starts to feel insurmountable. Well, it never has been insurmountable. It will not ultimately be insurmountable, no matter how much it feels that way. Like many other moments where change was possible, but people had to come to the realization that they could actually do it. It takes some voices to spark that realization. It takes some artists often to bring out truths that aren't accepted yet. Sometimes an artist helps us cross that bridge into realizing our own power and our own possibility to make change. Well, Robert Greenwald's done that, and everyone at Brave New Films has done that. They've done something here that's going to open eyes and spur action. And the fact that they're doing this work so explicitly on behalf of the people, making this film available for free all over the nation, and then connecting it to action, that's extraordinary. So I just want to say from the beginning, Robert, to you and your whole team, you're doing something that is more than a public service. It is a catalyst to the kind of change we need. Let's thank them all. I want to quickly note a lot of people are here who care deeply and are doing all they can to make the change we need. I want to thank two of our elected officials who are here who care very deeply on this issue. Both of them have done a lot of great work to fight the scourge of guns in the streets of our city. I want to thank our public advocate, Tish James. And I want to thank Councilmember Jamani Williams. This whole administration is committed to that mission, and we understand the power of arts and culture in the mission of making change. And I want to thank our great Cultural Affairs Commissioner, Tom Finkelpearl, for being here. And leaders and organizations that are supporting this work tonight because they realize what a difference it could make. I want to thank Margaret Huang, the Executive Director of Amnesty International. Thank you, Margaret. Leah Barrett, the Executive Director of New Yorkers Against Gun Violence. Reverend Patrick O'Connor of First Presbyterian Church. And two organizations that just do endless good when it comes to changing this nation. The Nation Magazine, and Democracy for America. Thank you all. So I want to make this even more blunt. you're about to see a film that will drive home the point and make you feel it strongly, but let me give you another evocation of what this means. I want you to imagine a New York City subway car during rush hour. We've all been on them. I want you to imagine all that humanity packed together in rush hour in a single subway car. See their faces, think about their stories and their families. Now think about 165 of those subway cars, all linked together. Well, imagine if every single person in every one of those 165 subway cars were picked off one by one and assassinated before your very eyes. And that is exactly the numerical reality of this nation, because in the year 2013, for example, 33,000 Americans were killed by gun violence. That's the equivalent of 165 subway cars packed to the gills, all that humanity destroyed. That's what we're facing. Now, it doesn't manifest that way. It manifests in so many ways, some shockingly commonplace. How many times have we read the story of a child who accidentally shot himself or shot a family member because there was a loaded and unsecured gun in the home? How many times have we watched the horrifying footage of young people at a high school or a college campus gunned down in cold blood? Saying the names of all the massacres, because again, they become so common. Kalamazoo, or Charleston, or San Bernardino, or before that, Aurora, or Columbine. This has become something that we sadly expect will happen now. But it couldn't happen if guns weren't available everywhere. It couldn't happen if a gun was not so easy to come by. So guns are ending up in the wrong hands all the time in this country. It's one thing you can sadly depend on. Guns will end up in the wrong hands. And we all felt, after Newtown, we all felt that maybe the consciousness was changing, because it was so horrific to see so many young people, really young children, lost all at once, that maybe something would break through. Maybe a new common ground would be found. And we still haven't seen it, because there is a systematic effort by the NRA to keep that national consensus from developing, to keep common sense and our moral values from ruling the day and bringing us change. You know, we got a very powerful example of this when we learned that even individuals on the terrorism no-fly list could walk into a gun shop in America and buy a gun. That's how broken our laws are. Even after San Bernardino, that's still legally allowable today. So we have to make change. And I would argue that we're learning more and more that change starts at the local level and forces its way to the national level nowadays. And every little change we can make starts to add up, combined with the powerful actions of citizens all over this nation. Here in this city, we are leading an effort to divest our pension funds from gun manufacturers. 2 of our pension funds have divested. I want to thank Tish James as well, because she has a vote on that board. 2 of our pension funds have divested. There are 3 more to go, and we need to get them all away from gun manufacturers. And then we need to talk to cities and states all over the nation to do the same thing, because the people's money, the public's money, should never go to prop up the merchants of death. It's as simple as that. We're doing all we can to get guns off the streets, to increase arrests for gun offenses, to speed the court process, to prosecute those who have used guns against our fellow New Yorkers. matter what we do, no matter how strong our police force and how much enforcement they do, so long as guns flow freely across borders of this nation, even our police, as good as they are always up against that challenging mountain they have to climb because guns keep pouring in and pouring in and pouring in. And we're sick of it. Well, here's what I'd say. The best way to stop a bad guy with a gun, the best way to take that gun out of the hands of that bad guy is to stop the NRA. You stop the NRA when you close the gun show loophole and you close the private sale loophole. You stop the NRA when all local and state governments divest from the gun manufacturers. You stop the NRA every time you show someone this film. And I want to say, and I bet Robert would share this view, I want to formally deputize everyone in the room as agents of information and truth. Go out there and make sure everyone sees this, because it will get them into a state of action. We have to untwist the twisted rhetoric of the pro-gun lobby and bring some light and bring some clarity and demand some change. So I'll finish with this. It is not hopeless. We've been told it's hopeless by the very same people who created the rules. By the way, NRA not only profits from this situation, the NRA keeps peddling the notion that no one can stop the NRA. It's a very convenient circle of logic. But the NRA is being seen through more and more all over this country by law enforcement leaders who call out the negative impact of the NRA, by more and more people who stand up and testify from what they've experienced in their own lives. Parents and grandparents who talk about what's been taken to them, from them because of policies propagated by the NRA. And there is a growing anger, and there is a growing frustration, and it is a moment to finally break the NRA blockade and change things. And we will find our way through. We will find our way to change. Let tonight be another inspiration to move forward. Thank you. Thank you all.